So thanks again for the opportunity to come and spend some time with you this morning. I'm normally at the back behind a sound desk or somewhere out of the way, so you'll be glad to know I won't be speaking for long. My wife is probably thinking that too. But it's a very special moment as part of the BB calendar. It was great to see all the officers up, all the boys behaving so far. We'll see how we get on here. But boys, let me start. I'm going to talk to you first, okay? Because nobody else really matters, okay? So it's you guys, okay? Let me ask you a question. Who likes PE in school? PE. Who likes doing games in school? What do you like about it? Just shout it out. You like football? Well, see, Anna Long, dodgeball, Anna Long have always liked football in the BB competitions. You have always had fairly vocal support. Loyal support at the competitions. But so who likes football, dodgeball, any rugby players? That's okay. That's okay. We're saved. Okay. What's the point of doing our games, doing our football? Get exercise. What else? If you're running a race, what's the goal of the race? To win. Okay. So the whole point of racing and running and football and rugby and all our games is to win. And a lot of the time it's a race. Now, what happened over the summer? Can anybody remember a big sporting event that happened over the summer? Shout it out. The Olympics and the Paralympics. Now, the Euros. Let's go with the Olympics, right? Because that's the easy questions, okay? How many races or medal events do you think there are in the Olympics? Shout out a number and we'll go higher or lower. 66? What do you think? Higher or lower? Higher. Shout a number out. Boys, you can help with this side too. You know, you just don't have to sit there. What? 10,000? 10 million? No. Lower. Shout it out. How many? 95? Nope. Higher. Let's go higher a bit quicker. 600? No. Lower. 250? Wee bit higher. No. We're going to be here for a wee while if we're going down that route. So, in the Olympics, there's 329 medal opportunities. Now, in the Paralympics, okay, which happened a couple of weeks ago, how many medals do you think there were? A lot more. Nope. Shout it out. Close, but there was 1,647. Okay. So, across the Olympics, there was just under 2,000 opportunities for the Olympians and Paralympians to get a medal or to win their race. And a lot of time when we're thinking about racing and we're thinking about life is compared to a race. But some of those races last. Now, if I'm running 100 meters, it's not 10 seconds. It's a couple of hours. But some of those races last for 10 seconds. Our football matches last for 45, 90 minutes of boredom. And then we have our rugby matches, which is just pure bliss. So that's you can see where my allegiance lie. Ulster did win last night by 1 point. Just saying. But most of our races in life are short. And the things we do in PE last for a few minutes or they last for an hour. But unlike a short sprint, life's race is a bit more of a marathon, isn't it? Like, it goes on a bit longer, we hope. It's challenging and it requires endurance. But in our reading, I'm not going to ask you to remember it for word, but in Hebrews 12, chapter 1, it says, let us run the race with perseverance. Let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. And when I was thinking about this, I could see that out of those two verses, we're told three things, okay, about running the race of life, okay? Now, first question I have to ask you, well, another question. Who knows what they want to be when they grow up? Shout it out. A farmer, yeah. What else? Okay, a leader. Was that a leader at Mullerton? Fair enough. Well done, handy. What else? Shout out loud. Okay. Electrician. Great. This church is going to be well served by farmers and electricians. Does any of the adults want to tell us what they want to be when they grow up? No. So at home, one of my daughters wants to be a princess doctor and vet, and it changes from week to week. Okay. So in our heads, when I was younger, I wanted to be a police officer. My wife is probably, well, she wouldn't have been my wife probably if I was a police officer, to be fair. But when I was growing up, I wanted to be a police officer. That was my end goal. When I was in primary school and high school, that's what I wanted to be. And each of us has a path, a unique race that's already been set out. But we all think we know what it's going to be, but we don't. And just like in a marathon, there's a course to follow. Now, marathons are 26.2 odd miles, so they're a long old race if you're running it. And you sometimes don't always know the twists and turns, and you're relying on somebody either pointing the way or directing the way. And sometimes that can be a real challenge. Who knows how many people are in a rally car? When you have two people in a rally car, shout out what the first person's doing. We'll go over to the boys here who are starting to. One's driving. What's the second person doing? What? He's looking at his phone? I hope not. He's what? The co-pilot. He's the navigator. Okay. Now, sometimes when I'm driving, I feel like I have a co-pilot. Okay. And we made it to Newcastle before she told me to brake, so that was good today. But if you think a co-pilot's job, okay, is to tell the rally driver whose pure focus is the road in front of him. He's not thinking 3, 4, 5 moves ahead. He's thinking where he's turning, where he's coming. And it's up to the co-pilot, co-driver, the navigator, to tell him where to go. And God's a bit like that in our lives. As we grow up, and if you trust in Jesus, God can help be your navigator to let you know or help point that path of where you're going. And in the BB, you're learning loads of different skills. So you might think they're just games. As you go up into the junior section and the company section, you do your badges and you do your Duke of Edinburgh's, and now you can do your King's badge. And all those things are helping build life skills, whether that be leadership skills, serving others by helping out with the sound or helping out at the door. God's using all of these wee experiences, even from Anchor Boys and junior section, to shape your journey. Now, going back to the Olympics, sometimes things don't always go to plan for the athletes, okay? And a wee quick story, two of my cousins were part of the 2012 London Olympics, and they were rowers. I know I did that gasp too. And they were part of the lightweight Cox's 4 rowers in London. And going into their heats, okay, they were getting gold. The first heat, second heat, all before the Olympics, they were getting gold. They were really, all the stories were saying it should be GB's year. They get to their qualifying heat in the Olympics, boom, gold. Or, well, not gold, but first place. Second final heat, they get gold. Comes down to the final. Now, it may not look like it, but my wife can attest. I do go to the gym. I'm trying. I go to the gym, and I'll jump in the rowing machine, and see after 2 minutes, I am knackered. And I mean, it's not a pretty sight. Okay, that's why I go when it's really early and nobody's about. But it's not a pretty sight. But these guys are sitting in their seats. Okay, they hear the klaxon, and for 6 minutes of what I can only describe as pain, they are rowing like the clappers, and they're going from point A to point B, and their goal is to get there first. Now, in 2012, they were going down. It was a fairly decent race. They were sitting in the top 3. As they're starting to pull out to first place, it all comes down to the last 10 seconds, and they were beat by 0.2 of a second, but they still got silver. But in their heads, and from chatting to them, their instant reaction was, we lost the race. Because they had worked so hard for gold. They had worked for that top prize. But God just didn't have it in their plan to get gold medal in London. Now, I'm not going to turn around and say 4 years later they got gold medal and they won. They didn't. But 10 years later, we can look at where God has placed his hand in their lives and what their path and direction was at guiding future rowers. Life's race is tough, and sometimes life's race can be full of unknowns. It can be challenging, and we feel like giving up. But the Bible tells us to persevere, to keep going when things are hard. So maybe we are in school and it's coming to picking subjects, or it's coming to starting to study for exams, or you're getting ready for the world of work, or you could be an adult here and things are just a nightmare. It's okay. God is always by our sides. But we're never running this race alone. If you trust in Jesus, He is your navigator and He's there with you. In fact, Jesus ran the race before us. He knows what it's like to face trials and hardships. And because He did, we can trust that He's right there, running alongside us, giving us the strength to keep going. But as we said, boys, when you're running a race or you're playing football, what are you supposed to do? Apart from win, what do you do when you're running a race? Get the ball into the net. Okay? And if you're running a race, what are you supposed to do? Go for it. Get to the finish line. Do your best skills to get to that finish line. Absolutely. You have to have a focus. You can't just go out and run a 100-meter sprint race, but your focus is on the other way, and you run and everybody else goes. You have to have a focus. When runners get distracted, they lose sight of the finish line. When you're playing football and you maybe get distracted by somebody at the sidelines, or you're not looking at where the ball is, sometimes it can end unfairly, or you just miss, and you miss the goal, and you miss the chance. We need to have complete focus whenever we're running a race, or whenever we're playing a game, or even when we're doing a task. We have to have complete focus. And in the Bible, it says in these verses to fix our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. He's our guide, He's our example, and He's the reason we run this race in the first place. For BB officers, it's part of the reason why you're an officer in the Boys Brigade. It's the advancement of Christ's kingdom amongst boys and the promotion of habits of obedience, reverence, discipline, self-respect, and all that tends towards a true Christian manliness. The BB is all about Jesus, and that's why all your officers give up. I was surprised to hear you meet in 3 nights, because that sounds like a logistical nightmare. But 3 nights, officers are giving up time here to look after your boys, but more importantly, to point them towards Jesus. And in life, there is many distractions. You might get caught up in chasing success, popularity in school, or even at uni, or as you go into the world of work. Some things the world says are more important than Jesus. But remember, the ultimate prize is not found in these things. The ultimate happiness is not found in these things. The ultimate goal is to follow Jesus and live for Him. And that's exciting. And sometimes it can feel hard. It can be challenging. But if we keep our eyes on Jesus, He reminds us of His love day and daily, His grace, and the eternal grace that He offers. He's the one who gives us strength. So whenever you're feeling weak or feeling just run down, He's the one who helps us keep going even when the race is tough. So boys, as you sit there and you're starting this BB year, your officers have loads planned for you. I encourage you to think of every week and this life as a race, but not the one you run alone. Jesus is running alongside you. He's guiding you. He's giving you the strength to keep going. And lastly, to the leaders and helpers here in Annalong, I know that some weeks can be tough. Getting out the door to another night of BB after a hard day in work, hard day at home, and that thought of going in and dealing with, from what I can see, a very peaceful bunch of boys. Just remember, the heart of the BB, it's about bringing young boys and young men to Jesus, giving them the life skills, giving them the opportunities that they may not have, but raising up a generation of Christ-like men who can serve us, serve our community, but more importantly, we want to bring those men to Christ. So, run your race with purpose. Run it with perseverance and faith, knowing that with Jesus, the finish line is always worth it. Let's run the race well, together with Jesus leading all the way.